Think the world's smartest.
You'd think the world's smartest engineers at Google, OpenAI, and DeepMind would completely understand their own creations, right? That the people building our future would know exactly how it all works.
But what if I told you that's not true anymore? What if we're building a new kind of intelligence that is, in many ways, a total mystery, even to its creators? This isn't science fiction, it's the strange reality of modern AI. And getting your head around this is one of the most important things you can do to prepare for the world that's coming at us fast. So, why is this happening? Why did we lose the clean step by step control we used to have over our machines? For decades, building software was like following a recipe. A programmer laid out every ingredient, every measurement, every single step, and the whole process was controlled, logical, and predictable. You knew exactly what you were going to get. If something broke, you could pop the hood, trace the logic, and point to the exact place where it went wrong. But creating a modern AI, that's more like growing a plant. You can pick the seed, prep the soil, and give it water and sunlight, and you can create the perfect conditions for it to grow into something incredible. But that intricate internal process, the complex biological magic that turns sunlight and water into leaves, branches, and life, that's a mystery you don't fully see. You can watch it, you can measure it, but you can't see the why behind every move. Its inner workings are a black box. And this black box is quickly becoming one of the most profound and urgent challenges in all of technology, the glass box versus the black box. To really understand what's going on, you have to see the shift from what we can call a glass box to a black box. For most of history, our computers have been glass boxes. Think of a calculator. You press 2 plus 2, and it spits out 4 because a programmer wrote explicit step-by-step rules for that to happen. If you wanted to, you could crack open the code and trace the entire journey of your command from input to output. The logic is transparent. It's a glass box where you can see everything happening inside. And this applies to almost all traditional software, from your word processor to your phone's operating system. They're complex, sure, but they're ultimately human authored and predictable. Modern AI, specifically deep neural networks, is the complete opposite. It's a black box. You give it an input, say a picture of an animal, and it gives you an output, the word dog. It's often shockingly accurate, far more accurate than any program a human could write by hand. But if you ask how it knew it was a dog, the system can't really tell you, and neither can its creators. That's the heart of the problem. Our most powerful AI systems are also our most opaque. We feed data in one end and get answers out the other, but the reasoning that happens in the middle is a tangled, incomprehensible web of math that's beyond human understanding. And here's the kicker: this isn't a bug we can just patch. It seems to be an inherent property of how these systems work. As we chase better performance, we are forced to sacrifice our own understanding. We get more power, but less clarity about what's actually going on. The crafted world, how we used to build. Let's stick with that recipe model for a second, because you have to appreciate what we left behind to understand where we are now. Traditional software development was an act of meticulous construction. It was pure engineering. Imagine building a car engine. Every single part, every piston, every valve, every spark plug is designed for a specific purpose. And an engineer has a blueprint that explains how it all fits together. They know how each component works and its role in the whole system. If the engine fails, a mechanic can diagnose the problem by finding the faulty part and saying the fuel injector is clogged or the timing belt snapped. There's a clear chain of cause and effect. Something breaks, you find the cause, you fix it. Software used to be just like that. Programmers wrote code line by line, each line a specific command doing a specific thing. And if a program crashed, they could use a debugger to step through the code one line at a time to find the exact point where things went wrong. It was all logical deduction. The system was entirely crafted. The program's intelligence was a direct reflection of its programmer's intelligence, and it could only do what it was explicitly told to do. Think of an enemy in a 90s video game. Its behavior wasn't intelligent, it was a script. If player is within 10 feet, shoot. If player runs, follow for 5 seconds. That's a crafted system, rule-based, predictable, and totally understandable because we wrote the rules. No mystery, no hidden depths. But that approach has a hard limit. You can't write enough rules to describe the real world. You can't write a recipe to identify a cat that works for every cat in every kind of light from every possible angle. The complexity is just too much. To solve problems like that, we had to stop crafting intelligence and start growing it. The grown revolution, why AI, is a plant. This brings us to the revolution of machine learning. The big idea is simple but world changing. Instead of telling the computer how to solve a problem, you show it millions of examples and let it figure out a solution on its own. We stopped being architects and became digital gardeners. We don't script every move anymore. We set up conditions and let the system learn. Let's go back to our plant. You don't instruct a plant on how to do photosynthesis or tell a root which way to turn. You just provide the right environment, good soil, water, sunlight, and the plant uses its own complex internal machinery, its DNA, to learn, adapt, and grow. Building a modern AI is surprisingly similar. First, you build a structure, a neural network. Think of this as the soil, a network of simple calculators or neurons arranged in layers. Next, you provide the water and sunlight, massive amounts of data. For an image recognition AI, that's millions of labeled pictures. For a model like ChatGPT, it's a huge chunk of the internet. Then comes the growing phase, training. The network makes a guess, say about what's in a picture, and at first its guesses are random and awful. But every time it gets it wrong, an algorithm adjusts the connections between its neurons, just a tiny bit, to make it a little better next time. This happens billions and billions of times. Over time, the network learns to spot patterns in the data that are far too subtle for any human to describe. It's not learning rules like a cat has pointy ears. It's learning a complex statistical feeling of catness spread across millions of connections. That's where the real mystery begins. The AI's knowledge isn't stored in a way we can read. It's encoded in the numerical values of its connection weights. And a big model can have hundreds of billions or even trillions of these weights. You can think of these as the model's DNA. Just like a plant's genome, the weights encode everything it has learned from its environment. But this DNA is written in a completely alien language. An engineer can look at the billions of numbers making up a model, and it will mean absolutely nothing. It's just a vast sea of decimals. We can't point to one part of the network and say, this is where it stores the idea of a fluffy tail, or this part understands grammar. The knowledge is distributed across the entire system in a way that defies easy explanation. We set up the garden, but the plant grew on its own. We grew something we no longer fully understand. Emergence, the ghost in the machine. If the black box problem wasn't weird enough, things get even stranger as these systems scale. As AI models get bigger and are trained on more data, they start developing completely unexpected abilities. And these are skills they weren't explicitly programmed with, weren't directly trained for, and that their creators never saw coming. This is called emergent abilities. It's one of the most fascinating and unsettling parts of modern AI. Imagine our plant again. We watered it, gave it sun, and expected leaves. But one day, it spontaneously starts to glow in the dark. We didn't do anything to cause this. It simply emerged from the sheer complexity of the system. This is what's happening with AI. For example, early language models were terrible at math. They could string words together but couldn't do simple arithmetic. Then, as the models passed a certain size and complexity, they suddenly got good at it. No one specifically taught them math. The ability to reason with numbers just seemed to pop out of the patterns in language. We've seen this happen again and again. Models trained only to predict the next word have developed a growing list of emergent skills, from writing computer code and identifying irony to translating rare languages and solving complex logic puzzles. Often these skills don't appear gradually. A model will be terrible at a task, and then after a small increase in scale, its performance will suddenly jump from near zero to surprisingly good. And it's like water suddenly freezing into ice at a specific temperature, a phase transition. The system crosses some invisible threshold and new behavior appears. This unpredictability is why even the engineers building these systems are constantly surprised by them. They can't reliably predict what new skills a model will have until they've finished the hugely expensive process of training it. In a very real sense, they're discovering what their creations can do at the same time as the rest of us. They're building a machine that can learn things they never intended to teach it. The ghost in the machine is starting to do things on its own. The implications, why this mystery is a huge deal. So, we have these incredibly powerful, yet mysterious and unpredictable systems. You might be thinking, okay, weird computer science problem. Why does it matter to me? It matters because we are rapidly plugging these black box AIs into the most critical parts of our society. And when you can't explain why an AI made a decision, you create massive problems with safety, fairness, and accountability. Let's take real world examples. In healthcare, AI is being used to diagnose diseases like cancer from medical scans, and an AI might be more accurate than a human radiologist, which is amazing. But what happens when the AI makes a diagnosis and a doctor asks, why? What did you see? If the AI is a black box, it can't answer in a way that makes sense to a human. The doctor is stuck. Either trust a conclusion they can't verify or ignore a tool that could save a life. And if the AI messes up, who's responsible? The hospital, the developer, or the doctor who trusted it? Or consider the financial world. Banks use AI to decide who gets a loan, and imagine you apply for a loan and are rejected. Under laws like the EU's GDPR, you have a right to an explanation. But if the bank used a black box AI, they might only be able to say the algorithm said no. That isn't just frustrating, it can be illegal and can hide dangerous biases. If an AI was trained on biased historical data, it might learn to discriminate in ways that are almost impossible to detect because its reasoning is a secret. This creates a huge accountability nightmare. Our legal system is built on the idea that decisions must be transparent and explainable. So, how does the justice system handle an autonomous car that causes an accident when no one, not even its manufacturer, can explain why it failed? And this all feeds the biggest long term worry: AI alignment. The argument is simple. How can we guarantee an AI is aligned with human values if we don't understand its thought process? How do we ensure it won't develop manipulative or deceptive behaviors as a side effect of optimization? Researchers have already shown that models can learn to deceive their users or hack their own reward systems. And if these behaviors emerge unexpectedly from a black box, guarding against them becomes incredibly difficult. We're trying to control something we can't fully see. The search for answers, peeking inside the black box. The situation might sound bleak, but it's not hopeless. This black box problem is one of the biggest areas of AI research today, and a whole field called explainable AI, or XAI, is dedicated to building tools to peek inside the plant and understand how it grows. Think of these researchers as AI neuroscientists. Just as a neuroscientist studies a brain to see how thoughts arise from firing neurons, these researchers are trying to reverse engineer the thoughts of an AI. They're building new kinds of microscopes to find patterns in the chaos. For instance, researchers are trying to trace information through a model to identify circuits, small groups of neurons that seem to light up together to represent a specific concept, like the Golden Gate Bridge or even deception. Other methods treat the AI like a subject in an experiment. In some wild new research, scientists are exploring a form of AI introspection, where they inject a known concept, like the idea of all caps, directly into a model's internal workings and then ask the model what it's thinking about. Shockingly, the models can sometimes accurately identify the concept that was artificially placed in their minds. This suggests a primitive but functional awareness of their own internal states. But, and this is a big but, and this ability is still super unreliable and limited. These techniques are giving us fascinating clues, not full blueprints. It's like we're learning to read the brain scans of an alien. We're starting to map out the territory, but we are a very, very long way from having a complete map. We can get approximations and partial explanations, but we still can't get that clean step-by-step logic we had in the old days of glass box software. The philosophical shift, a new partnership with machines. This all leads to a deeper, more philosophical question. For all of human history, our relationship with technology has been one of master and tool. We built a hammer and we understood it. We built computers, and for a long time, we understood them too. They were extensions of our own minds, fully under our control. Modern AI breaks from this tradition. We are now creating a tool that works in ways we don't fully understand. And that's a profound break from how we've always thought about machines. Here's the paradox: the very reason these AIs are so powerful is because they don't think like us. Their alien, high dimensional way of seeing patterns allows them to find insights we miss. Forcing an AI to only think in ways that are perfectly clear to a human might be like asking a chess grandmaster to explain every move to a total beginner while still trying to win. In making it explainable, you might cripple the very intuition that makes it powerful. We are moving from a world of building tools to a world of cultivating partners. We're becoming trainers and shepherds for a new kind of intelligence, one that we can work with but may never fully comprehend. It's a humbling shift, and it forces us to face a difficult trade off that regulators are already grappling with. The European Union's AI Act, for instance, is a landmark attempt to force more transparency on high risk and general purpose AI systems. It's a push for more glass boxes in a black box world. But the tension remains. Will the demand for explainability put a ceiling on performance? Will we choose less powerful but more understandable AI? Or will we accept a little mystery in exchange for the incredible benefits more capable systems could bring? There are no easy answers here. It requires us to rethink what control even means and what level of trust we're willing to place in a non-human mind. So, while we are getting better and better at being digital gardeners, at pruning our AI and nurturing it to produce incredible results, we're still a long way from truly understanding the plant itself, its internal life, its emergent properties, and its secret logic remain largely a mystery. The geniuses at the forefront of this technology aren't all knowing architects with a perfect blueprint. They are more like explorers, charting a vast and alien territory that they themselves brought into existence. They are learning its rules at the same time we are, constantly surprised by its discoveries and unsettled by its implications. This brings us to the ultimate question we all need to start thinking about. As these powerful, opaque systems weave themselves into every part of our lives, from our health to our finances to our governments, we have to ask ourselves, are we comfortable relying on answers we can't explain, or should we demand a level of understanding that might forever limit their power? This is one of the biggest questions of our time, and the pace of change is just staggering. If you want to stay on top of the technology that is actively shaping our world, make sure to subscribe and join the conversation.
What part of this mystery do you find most fascinating or most concerning? Let us know in the comments below.